Hello and welcome to our after talk for the latest production of Waseda Institute Players, A Midsummer Night's Dream. I am Hannah and it is my honour to host this little talk along with our wonderful Malina, who is amazingly participating from Iceland today. As the members for this session, we have Andy, who directed the play and also starred as Demetrius, and Christina, who starred as Mustard Seed Fairy, Lauren, who starred as Bottom, and our music composer Mirabelle, who also starred as Oberon, and Sam, our new member of ours, who starred as Lysander. And of course, at last and not least, our artistic director and the script editor of the production, Dr. Umemiya.
This after talk is divided into two parts, English and Japanese, and you are now obviously watching the English version. The other members of the production are in the Japanese slot. You can easily find the Japanese after talk on our YouTube page, so if you're interested, please take a look at that too.
Please do so. And now I think we can move on to the questions, which I think we definitely need to start with you, Andy. So,
Sure.
Andy, I've seen your post on social media that this production is your favourite so far. So what made this so special for you? And as the director of the play, what was most important for you throughout the entire production?
Yeah, first of all, that it's special because it's a personal affirmation of I finally, I can affirm myself that the commitment is worth making, and I could actually, commit most of my time of the vacation on this project. And we discuss a lot, especially with Risa, because we're co-director and we always have to go through a superb long discussion until we reach a consensus. Because what we're doing in this production is more than bringing the play into life. We already did that, but also to modify it into another form. It's very new. I think it's very original. It somehow works with the plot. It didn't disturb the plot development, even though, well, we did cut away the actor troops, which were originally the funny part as well. But we were very resourceful, I'd say. And for me, I think it's important, but I didn't do it in a fully fashion. Just is besides pursuing what directors want, also need to help actors to believe in what they're doing. It's a very, you could say relatable, but unrelatable at the same time. It's a story like that. So you got fairies, a lot of magical elements in the story plot. So, and we're doing it in a confined space, and it's like a very confined, and you wouldn't believe that we're in the forest. We're in the forest now. So, we got to make believe that they are in the forest and they're doing all kind of stuff. A lot of things happening in the room, but actually they think we need to think that we're in the forest because we're believing in what we're doing. So, yeah, I've tried it. I guess it worked out.
Definitely did, in my opinion. Okay, so next question is also, as you have been gaining so much acting experience throughout this year, has your viewpoint towards Shakespeare plays changed? If so, how?
It changed starting from each production. There's a beginning and there's an end. So the first production, the first production meeting. So I already knew I'm gonna co-direct this play, and then well, shamefully called, it should be called an intense study group of the crew. Is my face was, you could remember, I'm sure you could remember when I was watching the plot summary on YouTube of Midsummer Night's Dream. I was doing that along, we're doing that together. But apparently some of you already did read the play. Well, I didn't. So when I was looking at the plot summary video, my face was like, so okay, I need a better version of, guide me through the whole play. So eventually I tried watching the movies way before the planning of how to direct. So it's very beginning stage, just to know better the play. So my perspective on Shakespeare plays, at first, I guess from 12 Nights, I was kind of uncertain about things. So I'm not sure if I could handle this kind of text, because I've never read anything like this before. So every time I need to study hard to understand what it's all about. And I guess I need to study all over again if we're gonna do the next play. So
I mean, we all have to review and study again.
Yeah.
We're gonna for the new project. So yes.
Yeah, but it's cool to hear that how you have been gaining a lot during these experiences with us. So it's lovely to hear that. And it's also, also watching this production, I thought showing how much possibility we have and the theatre has during such difficult times was like so amazing. And despite to the restriction of not being able to gather all the members in one time, I think you as a director did an absolutely great job of combining all of the stages and platforms together, which, as you said, did make this play production so original. And it was so cleverly made. I really liked it. So well done to you again. And I think another person who always gives us and our productions original spice is Mirabel. And I think this production seemed to be the most musical-like version of Shakespeare. And as our music composer, I would like to ask you, was that part of your ambition of familiarizing Shakespeare?
Well, thank you for the question. Well, I didn't really have any sort of power in initiating the creation of music at all. I was, merely accustoming for the sake of the scene and did what I was told to, which is quite different from my vision or belief. Any production of music theatre vision of the creation of musical and what musical theatre is based on. I love musical theatre as much as I do for Shakespeare, and I do hope people could appreciate, honestly, the majesty of language, his humor, his playfulness, instead of mine, or by altering it into a musical. Although your mentioning of familiarizing or familiarity is rather interesting, I guess music in itself helps us and help our audiences to get acquainted with the material that we're dealing with and the comedic nature of this play and all other comedies. And also this popularity show. I hope people would love it better with music and with the more modernly made music that I did for this production.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So you didn't intentionally kind of do it, but how do you try and push the boundary between those two?
Well, I didn't think of it that way, that I was, pursuing any sort of boundary pushing. And what we've done so far are satisfactory in themselves as experiments. And if any of that can turn out to be, or to be breeding something edgy and innovative in themselves or in the future, that's great. Although regarding Shakespeare, I'm much more conservative. And I guess a full-length Shakespearean play for all group, it should be kind of an ultimate goal for all of us. Although I appreciate that if, as a group, we can one day embrace musical theatre as a new comfortable genre that we're all exploring together instead of me pushing through. That'd be amazing. Just saying that. I'm not really going to argue for that. But yeah, let's do what we want.
Well, thank you for your insights into what production. So next.
Yeah.
You.
Yes, because as like Mirabelle, you are one of the oldest members in this group, and you have been doing so many hard works for this group. It's always great to have you, and I'm still looking forward to see much more of you here. So it's always lovely to hear your opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. And you've got so much talent in so many places. So yeah, you're a real treasure of this group. And yeah, so talking of boundaries and talents, I think I would like to move on to Lauren. Yeah, so you played Olivia for me in 12th Night, and so seeing you acting as Bottom was it was a positive surprise. It was really funny. It was really so exciting to see you doing that. And so now you've shown your range of skills and your talent of acting. What do you have any kind of character in mind that you would like to pick next?
All right, thank you for the question, and I'm really glad that you thought it was hilarious. Well, as you said, so far the characters that I've mostly played and plays are like ladylike and feminine characters, and Bottom is really my first time acting as a character with those kind of personality, like comedic, and he wants to be seen prideful and confident by others, especially Titania, but is actually still like a scaredy cat sometimes and like a clueless type of guy. And yeah, his actions are hilarious. And because I don't really have much experiences acting like characters like Bottom yet, this is my first time. I want to try more characters like him, so with a similar personality and type of comedic relief, I guess, in plays. And I want to try to push again my boundary. I think I can still go further than what I did for Bottom. And another type of character that I'm interested to play is someone like Puck, actually. Like, I find him like very comedic, but in a different way, like more light than Bottom. And I'm not actually sure how to explain it in words, but a character that's like active and bouncy, like how the Puck in our play is like, and like always up to something. So yeah, I'm interested to try those type of characters as well.
A little bit like a trickster character in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, well, you've explained what you want to play in the future, but for this time, Could you give us a tip on how you built your character for the bottom?
Right. Actually, I have to give the credits to our amazing directors here. Like, without Andy and Risa, like I don't think I can do bottom this great. And I actually got a lot of advices during the rehearsals, and it's really, really helpful. So I think I would just share what I think is like the biggest change that could develop myself. And the first step is actually to watch different versions of how bottom is played. Like initially I only watched one version, and I think I was too stick to that kind of version, so I couldn't really explore more of bottom's character. But after the directors recommended me to watch more plays, I was able to kind of like take the actions that I like from each play and kind of like mix it together, and then also have my own interpretation of bottom and try to incorporate that. And with that, I could have like a wider vision of how I want to play bottom. And I think it's very, very helpful. It can really help my development so well. And of course, it takes more time, but I'm sure it's definitely worth to discover new things. And then not only that, also for the monologues part, I got the recommendation to keep practicing and imagine like I'm alone, like nobody else is in the room. So I act out as much as I can without worrying about what the audiences will think or how people would perceive bottom, but like just be in character and act as much as I can as bottom, and try to remember that kind of feeling, that sensation that you're like alone in the forest and you do whatever you want. And I bring it to the actual performance, and yeah, that's how I did for bottom. I think those tips would be helpful, and not only for characters like bottom, but especially for characters that have a personality that is new to you. Like I think those two tips would be like a very great step to start.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, like keeping yourself open-minded and like receiving all the support you get. I think it's great to hear that you did that, and I think it's definitely something that will help the new members like Sam. And so Sam, this was your first time acting with us. Could you please tell us about your background in theatre and what you hear?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I've actually been asked the same question by, I think, Risa Senpai, like in casual conversations after practice. And my answer would have been the same. I don't have any experience whatsoever, was what I thought, until I often Zoom with my family and just have casual chats with them just to catch up and to reconnect. And so one time I was just talking with my family, and I mentioned this whip and the production that we were part of. So when I talked about that, my mother, she said, "Oh, just like when you were younger." And what do you mean? And she explained to me that I have no recollection of this at all, but apparently when I was 5 to 6 years old, I would act in a troupe that was tied to a church, because I come from a religious family. So I would act in like Christmas plays and other Bible stories, that kind of thing. Yeah. So, and I had a mentor from like a TV station, is what I was told, but I don't remember any of that. Yeah. So technically, it's my first foray into theater, but it's kind of not. So yeah, it was very fun either way. Yes. And what brought me here would be a person. It's actually Christina. She just told me about WHIP. I was looking for a circle to join, to meet people, to make connections, and Christina was nice enough to bring me to WHIP. So here I am. Yeah. Thank you, Christina.
Good job, Christina, for recruiting new members to our group. And so since this is your, was your first intense acting experience, what kind of difficulties or fun did you find through acting in early modern English? And what did you think of our concept, respecting the original text?
It was definitely a challenge, especially for pronunciations. I struggled a lot with the TH sounds like a F, and I guess the older English language. One word in particular that I struggled a lot with was the pronunciation of Athens. It got me several times throughout our practices, and I would just, when rehearsing at home, I just repeat the word to myself as I was like eating cereal, like in my head, it's Athens, not Athens, it's Athens, not Athens. So I would just keep thinking that, and eventually it managed to come out in the final product. So I was really glad about that. Yeah.
Practice makes it better.
Yes.
It's always the one word that you struggle with, so everyone's been there, so don't worry. And yeah, so acting in Old English and respecting the original script is definitely a core of this group. And it's great to hear that you had theatre in your blood, sort of. And so it was your first-ish production for you, Sam, but we also have a fairly new member who brought you here, which is Christina, and this is your second production with our group. And last time in Romeo and Juliet, you took over a huge responsibility with debuting with the directorial enrollment. So this time you've taken quite the opposite, a really small role online. How would you put the difference?
Yeah, I think in your last production, Romeo and Juliet, I also played the small role of Friar Lawrence. So, but Friar Lawrence is a kind of serious man, and given that Romeo and Juliet has a very tragic ending, there are so many heavy scenes in that play. But this time in this play, I played one of the fairy called Master Seed. He is very typical fairy who is very joyful and free and also loyal to his master. So I quite enjoy it. And I think another difference is that being a director, you interpret the characters through text, but being an actress or actor, you're kind of becoming that character. So make me interpret and understand the character better this time. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely being a director, feels like you need to kind of know every character and interpret it more widely rather than focusing on one character and digging deeper.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, okay. So since you've done both ends of the spectrum, kind of, what would you want to do next?
I don't know whether there's any opportunity of our next play to be on the stage. If hopefully it can be, I'm glad to do some more work behind the scene, like about the design of the stage or design of costumes or design of the light, such kind of work. So I'm quite looking forward to it because what I'm doing now is just play the role on Zoom or direct on Zoom. So I'm quite looking forward to the live stage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that, yes, it has been a long time since we've been completely on stage. So, yeah, I hope you really get to experience that because it is very different.
Yeah.
Right. See you all back on stage. And yeah, working as staff or as a cast, they're both so important for every single production. And even though backstage, you can't, live without them. And so talking about backstage work, Dr. Amelia, as I also had the experience of editing one of Shakespeare's scripts, I sort of understand how difficult it can be to keep the original story in shape as much as possible. But when I was watching this production, I was quite impressed, if I'm allowed to say that, how you respected the original story. What did you keep in mind when you were editing the original script?
Okay, so when editing the text for this production, I always had to think about one thing, which was the duration of the time. Because we were not trying to do a full-length Shakespearean play, and I wanted to cut down in an affordable size, which was around 40 minutes or less. So the first thing I was thinking was to which part I would like the actors to challenge. And obviously, as Andy told us, we had to lose the scene of the mechanical, which was a shame because I really enjoy the interaction between them and the bottom and their play within the play at the last scene. But with the restriction of time, I needed to get rid of those scenes. But still, I had to obviously keep the role of bottom. So I was also glad to hear that Lauren enjoys the role of bottom, even though his lines being severely cut down. So apart from those negative things that I had to deal with, one thing that I wanted the actor, especially the four, to enjoy was the interaction between those young characters. So Demetrius, Lysander, Helena, and Hermia, I wanted them, four of them, to think about how they would express the struggle among the four and how friendship can turn into a hatred and how the power of words would allow the opponent to become weak or strong. So I wanted those characters to experiment with their words and discover the comedic feeling, because even though they are quarreling all the time, those scenes are quite funny. And whether it becomes a funny scene or not is up to the action. So that was my aim. So since I was talking about like closely reading the original text, I wanted especially the four and bits with bottom to make use of those limited amount of words rather than just playing the role.
Okay, well, definitely that was nice to hear. As you are artistic director, supervisor, you're also a researcher of Shakespeare. How do you make use of that professional position?
I think that's one of the unique features of our group, even though I'm not like extremely established researcher, but I do know quite a bit about Shakespeare, and I do several seminars and lectures on Shakespeare. So what I could provide here is obviously the background of the story, or some information related to the original practice or current productions in England and in Japan, past productions, film versions, translations. And I think the best thing, or the most frequently appearing usage of me, is to fix the pronunciation of the actors. Obviously, you all struggle with quite old Shakespearean words and phrases, and sometimes the accent is different from the one you are used to. So then probably I would become in handy, and I'm always happy to give hand. And also, if you're having a problem how to interpret the character or how to understand the lines which would make you able to move on stage or respond on the screen, then I can probably tell you how to, or not tell you, but give you some idea about how to interpret those lines. And probably comes with my professional backgrounds.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, you've always been like right behind us. You're always there. when we need help, and it's always good to have a professional perspective when we're doing something like based on something historical. And yeah, so I would also like to ask not only Dr. Mimiya, but all of you here, finally, what play or would you like to try, or like what kind of character would you like to try next, if you have anything in mind, any ideas?
I guess our next play would be a tragedy. And well, I do love Shakespearean tragedy, well, comparatively more to comedies. I personally would love the role of Richard III, but be much harder to play. And also, I know Lady Macbeth is probably a more suitable role for me to play personally. I mean, Macbeth and Richard III, they're good titles and more familiar to our audiences also. There are also less familiar ones. I would highly recommend not to go to anyone that start with the king's name, the Henry stuff.
I still remember you, Mirabel, playing a little snippet of Lady Macbeth actually in one of the classes we had. So yes, you definitely could probably nail it.
Yeah, that was. I like all those strong female roles and how they can bring misery upon men and upon other characters. I love villain roles. And that's probably why I did Oberon this time. A little bit villain-ish. I enjoyed that.
I agree. Villain roles are pretty fun to play, as I have also played the devil before. So. Okay.
I think Mirabel, you are definitely the great woman behind our team. So you're a composer, you played Oberon, you played it solid. I didn't have to say a lot of things to tell you what to do, because you know what you were doing. So yeah, it's a great relief. Just yeah, I can focus, put my head on something else, and you can just do your thing. Yeah, so you deserve the credit for that.
Yeah, we all do.
Every one of you did a great job, so I really enjoyed the play. Anyone else more on what they want to do next or play?
Yeah, I do agree with the idea of tragedies. Because we've done 2 comedies in a row, and that's one was obviously planned ahead, but especially with A Midsummer Night's Dream, we also had the idea of energizing the world, sort of. We didn't want to do a tragedy in this tragic moment. But now that things been eased down a bit, I think we are ready to commit ourselves to extremely dark tragedy.
Yeah, let's tragic the hell out of ourselves. I don't know if tragic's a word, but no. Yeah, because well, Romeo and Juliet too, but that was tragedy. So, and I would very much like to challenge a tragic role again, because yeah, I think I can always do better. After I do sometimes I would self-reflect my own performance, watching myself. It's a study session for actor. What deserves a raise, what deserves a criticism. So I would really like to authenticize more on the tragic part.
I would definitely love to see you guys play some tragedy with treachery in it.
Okay.
That'd be great. So yeah, it's great to see you have a vision of what you would like to do next, and it's great to see that all of you sort of like talk to each other, respect each other. It's always great to see that atmosphere here. And so thanks to all of you. I'm really looking forward to see you again in future performances. And I think I shall conclude our after talk session by saying many thanks to the audience for watching our after talk as well as our production. If you have not seen the production yet, you must go and see it right away.
Yes, and also don't forget to check our Japanese after talk. If you're interested in joining us, please contact us at the email address below, so you don't need to be extremely fluent in English. All we ask is love for theater. Thank you again, and see you soon.